had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by others, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem.
And so Jesus challenges the very heart of who we perceive that we should like and who we should love.
There's a scene in the Gospel of John. There are two different groups of people. One group would be the church people, and they had brought this woman caught in the very act of adultery, this harlot, this adulteress, and they dragged her in. And at that point, I'm sure as they were sitting there, they thought, there are two kinds of people in this world. Good people like us, and bad people like that woman. Jesus looked at the same scene, and I'm putting words in his mouth, but there are two kinds of people in the world. People who are in need of God's grace and admit it, and people who are in need of God's grace and deny it.
Take the passage where the children are pestering Jesus, and the disciples have been quite rough with them. They're saying, go on, clear off, get out of the way. And he said, no, forbid them not, let the children come to me. The children and women in Jewish society were very much second-class citizens. And Jesus takes the child, puts him right in the centre. He said, unless you become as this child, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And so he taught about humility of coming before God, but he demonstrated it in his character and his relationships.
I know when I was a kid, one of my favorite stories was a little storybook that portrayed Jesus welcoming the children, this man who everyone wanted to follow, everyone wanted to be with, and he opened up his arms and welcomed the little children. I just wanted to be counted amongst those children who were welcomed by Jesus. And I always had a sense that I was. You know, there was this kid who grew up in the inner city with no dad, no money, very little food sometimes. But the God of the universe noticed and loved this little kid. And I marveled about that. And I marvel still.
Grace is a free gift of God. We don't deserve it by definition. It's a free gift of God. But to receive a gift, you have to have your hands open. If you don't, it'll just fall to the ground. And when you look at the people Jesus walked among and taught among, it's often the religious people who had their hands closed like fists. I don't need. But the message of Jesus is it's only when you do need that you receive God's grace. He doesn't ask us to be perfect people. He doesn't ask us to do everything right. He just asks us to come to him in our need and hold out our hands. That's the gift of God's grace that applies to every one of us.
Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you. How often I have longed to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings. And you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you desolate. I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.
Jesus clearly loves people and wants them to come into a relationship with him, but if they stand opposed to him and won't receive his forgiveness, then there is a judgment.